let's talk about what's going on with immigration. I mentioned earlier that Fox News seems to be talking quite a bit about African immigration now, as if this is the new flood torrent. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got some attention this week where she referred to the concentration camps that we have for children, immigrants at the border as concentration camps. And there was just this massive freak out. Give me your take on this.
On the Ocasio-Cortez thing, look, she's a lightning rod. She handles it better than any politician I've seen in the last 20, 30 years. She's really good, and I, of course they're concentration camps. They're not, she made, they're going, you can't say that. That's an insult to the Holocaust victims and what have you. The Holocaust was death camps, and there is a difference. She made that clear. Concentration camps have been around for a very long time, and the word was coined like back in the 1800s. It's not like it's something that was specifically, it had to do with the Holocaust. But nonetheless, I mean, the fact is that she drew attention to this, and I think she did it very skillfully, and she has a way of doing those things. We talked earlier in the program about, losing well and that sort of thing, knowing how to do that. She's very good at it. She knows how to actually get her point across, even at the time where she's taking a lot of fire from the other side. And I just wanted to say I do admire her for her political skills. I hope that she must be born with it because she doesn't have a lot of experience, but somehow or another, I think she's showing Democrats something that they really needed to learn. And on the substance of it, of course they are concentration camps. And what we're finding, I mean, there was a horrible story in the New York Times this week about the youngest child that was separated from his parents. He was 4 months old, and the parents were dragged away screaming from their baby, and the baby now, this is 2 years later, is is developmentally delayed. There's been a lot of trauma. The parents, I mean, this is the kind of thing, you're talking about kids in cages, you're talking about concentration camps, and both of those terms are absolutely applicable. And that's what we're dealing with immigration. This thing with the Africans, I saw that it's Tucker Carlson who's leading the charge on that, of course. I mean, that guy, everybody read up on Viktor Orban if you don't know who he is. He's the president of Hungary or prime minister of Hungary. That's who Tucker Carlson is modeling his new ideology on, and it's really, it's neo-fascist, basically. Yep. And in any case, this is, I'm not surprised that they're going there because they have to ratchet this up. Kids in cages makes people feel icky. Africans storming over the border, gets those people, really excited. So, that's what they're doing. They're trying to shift the focus. And Trump this week, I don't know whether it was an impulsive decision in the middle of the night and he just said this, or whether or not he'd had a briefing and he just, screwed the pooch like he usually does, like he goes and tells people, classified information, that they are planning a big, deportation program, and to separate families in particular. And what this tends to mean is that they drag away parents from their American-born children who are citizens. They take them out of schools, they take them out of their workplace, they take them out of their homes, and they cause this tremendous trauma. And the idea is, and this has been done before, and it was done during the Obama administration, they do this with the idea that these people are then going to self-deport. They're going to take their kids and they're going to go rather than go through this. And it's never worked. It doesn't happen that way. These people have, good reasons for not being in their home country. They like their home countries. They're not here because, they hate where they come from. They're here because they have to be here. They'd rather be making a living and raising their kids in their own country, but the circumstances send them here. And so the idea is to send, massive waves of fear through these immigrant communities. And it's disgusting and it's horrible. And I think we're looking at a real upsurge in this kind of behavior because Trump has a problem, and that is that immigration has actually gone up since he became president, not gone down. It was way down, and has been way down since the mid 2000s. But a lot of the problem, especially with the asylum seekers, has to do with the fact that he has ratcheted up this rhetoric, making people say, "I got to go now, or I won't be able to," because he's going to build a wall or start shooting people or whatever. And it's making people make that move at a time when maybe they would be waiting to see what was happening in their home country or whatever, knowing that, under the assumption that he's going to shut everything down. If he'd shut up, it would probably, at least in some respects, pull back
even
a little
out.
bit. But,
I absolutely. I mean, I know people up in New York State who are like, I have seasonal workers. I know a lot of people who work up on farms upstate. Said, I have seasonal workers that come in with visas. They can't get past the border right now. And there's this sense of like, I've got to get across now because I'm not going to be able to do it later. And I mean, it frankly is a good argument for why we should simply demilitarize the border. You can, check off who's coming in and, take down names and IDs if that's what you want at the border. But at the very least, you demilitarize it, and people are going to leave to a certain extent as much as they come back in. They're going to go back and forth. That's certainly happening with Mexico, but that's also no coincidence because Mexico is not as nearly as violent as some of these other countries that people are coming from. They're running literally for their lives. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we get more to talk about with this. I have a couple more comments about the reaction to AOC's calling what we're doing down there concentration camps, because I just don't know what else you would call it. But more importantly, it is the legacy of the words "never forget" that I think people have really misconstrued. We'll talk about that in a moment.